Okay, today's lesson is on dividing fractions. It should be mostly a review lesson for you from things that you've learned in the past. So we are going to talk about what exactly it means to divide by a fraction. I think it's very important to know why we do some of the things we do in math, so I am going to go through that and explain that to you, and then we'll practice dividing fractions. So some of you may have the rule memorized, but you may not understand why the rule works. I don't remember ever learning myself as a kid why the rule works. I was just told, here's the rule, use it, or else my teacher didn't tell me and I just forgot. I don't even remember who I had for 7th grade math, so I just have no recollection of that. So you guys might all forget me someday. You'll be thinking when you're in your 40s, what did I have for 7th grade math? I don't even remember 7th grade math. All right, objective 1, understanding. Back to focus, guys. Understanding what it means to divide by a fraction. So when we have 12 divided by 4 equals 3, we end up with, we have 3 groups of 4 here. We're saying how many groups of 4 fit into 12? And we can see here that 3 groups of 4 fit into 12. Okay? This is an example with a fraction. If we're doing 12 divided by a fourth, what I did is I have 12 large squares here. And each square is divided into fourths. So when we're doing 12 divided by a fourth, we're asking how many groups of 1/4 fit into 12. Well, you can see each one of these squares is divided into 4 pieces. So we have 4 pieces in each square, and we have 12 squares. How can we write that as multiplication? Hillary? Well, yeah, count. So how many squares do we have?
12.
12. And so we're going to multiply that times 4. Good. So we can write that as 12 times 4. So when we're doing 12 divided by 1/4, we're asking ourselves how many groups of 1/4 fit into 12, which means we have to multiply. So that's why it works, why we change division problems to multiplication. Division of fractions always turns into multiplication. We never actually divide. Okay, here's another example. We have 1/2 divided by 1/8. So I have a large square. This square is divided into eighths. If I cut this in half, here's half of it. We're saying how many eighths fit in a half. So just looking up here, thinking half only being here, raise your hand if you can tell me how many eighths fit in a half. Jonathan?
4.
4 of them fit in a half. So we have 4. So 1/2 divided by 1/8 is actually the same as 1/2 times 8. We're taking half of the 8 that we have up here, right? So 1/2 times 8. If we cross simplify, 2 goes into 8 4 times, and we get 4/1, which is just 4. So we can look at this with a picture. We can see that 1/2 divided by 1/8 is the same as taking 1/2 times 8/1. Okay, and we'll look at exactly how the rule works in the next section. Okay, so when we divide fractions, here's the actual rule. To divide by a fraction, you multiply by its reciprocal. And we're going to talk here about what a reciprocal is. To get the reciprocal of a fraction, you are just going to turn it upside down. Turn it upside down. The numerator becomes the denominator, and the denominator, or the bottom, becomes the numerator. So your top becomes the bottom, and your bottom becomes the top. Okay, so some examples. The reciprocal of 3/4 is just 4/3. We just put the 4 on the top, and we put the 3 on the bottom. Brian, what would the reciprocal of 5/8 be? Good. 8 over 5. Actually, I'm not going to put an equal sign because that's implying that those two fractions are equal, which they're actually not. So, not putting equals there. Okay, what's the reciprocal of 4/11ths? Keelan?
11/4.
Good. How about the reciprocal of 1/2? Jonathan? 2 over 1. How else could we say that? What is 2 over 1? Yeah, I could just say 2. Okay, how about the reciprocal of 3? Johnny, what do you want to try?
1 over 3.
Good, it's 1 over 3 because remember we can write 3 as 3 over 1, so its reciprocal is 1 over 3. Okay, let's look now at some examples of how this is actually used. So we have 3/8 divided by 1/2. This is the same as 3/8 times 2 over 1. So the only new thing you're doing today is switching the sign, flipping the fraction. Some of my students last year had this cute little saying that they had learned in elementary school, so maybe you did too, where they'd say, keep it, switch it, flip it.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like doing a bop it or something.
Yeah.
Keep it, switch it, flip it.
Yeah, keep it.
Keep it, switch it, flip it. Hillary, question.
How come you only flip one of them?
Because what we're doing is we're figuring out how many halves go into 3/8, and so we just end up multiplying by the second one. It was always the second one. It will not work if you flip the first one.
I have a question. If you have numbers like that, do you have to do the horseshoe method?
Yes, we'll talk about that when we get to it. All right, so let's finish doing this problem. We're looking for cross simplifying. 2 goes into itself once and into 8 4 times. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 times 1 is 4. So 3/8 divided by 1/2 is 3/4. Okay, next one, 5/16 divided by 3/4. We're going to keep it, switch it, flip it. Okay, we always look for ways to cross simplify so you don't have these nasty things to reduce in the end. 4 goes into 16, so 4 goes into itself once, into 16 4 times. We can't cross simplify in the other diagonal. 5 times 1 is 5, 4 times 3 is 12. So the answer is 5/12. When we have mixed numbers, first change your mixed numbers to improper fractions before you start to flip. It really helps if you write down the intermediate steps so that you don't get lost on this. What's the first question, Sammy?
Don't have to do the horseshoe method for...
That's what I'm just saying, yes. So let's do our horseshoe method. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 plus 6 is 20. So I have 27 divided by 7 times 1 is 7 plus 2 is 9. So I have divided by 9/7. So I'm going to write the problem exactly how it is as a division problem. Now I'm going to do the keep it, switch it, flip it thing. So I'm going to keep it, switch it, flip it. Okay, now this works out really nice because we have diagonal 7s. So 7 goes into itself once each time. We can't simplify this way, so we end up with 20 over 9, which we can change to a mixed number. 9 goes into 20 twice, with 2 left over. So we have 2 and 2 9s. Okay, now our next problem, we're going to use horseshoe method. So 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13 thirds, divided by, I'm going to just write this as 5 over 1. So now when I flip it, it makes it easier for me to find the reciprocal. So I'm going to keep it, switch it, flip it. There's no cross simplifying that I can do on this problem. 13 times 1 is 13. 3 times 5 is 15. So I have 13 over 15. Okay, the next slide. I remember this. Now just a second. Next slide has 3 examples for you to try. So if you're watching the video, you should pause the video, try these examples, and then come back. Okay, Ben, can you tell us how to do number 1?
2 thirds. Pass that, or then you gotta switch it.
Switch it.
So you gotta flip 1, 6, 5, 1, every 1.
Okay.
And then you gotta at least get 10 over 3.
Good. And could we change that to a mixed number?
3 and 1/3.
Good. 3 and 1/3. Some of you may be able to do that change to a mixed number in your head just by thinking 3 goes into 10 3 times and then there's going to be 1 left over. If you can't do it in your head, you can write it out like this and do 3 minus 9 is 1. You have 1 left, so it's 1/3. So you can still write it out. Brian, question?
I was gonna say the next one. Oh, you have the card.
Yeah, the card out. Any questions about the first one? Nick?
I was gonna say, could we just keep it like 10 minutes?
Yeah, I'm not going to be real picky about whether you convert it to a mixed number, because when you move into algebra, we don't usually convert them anyhow. Okay, next one, 3/10 divided by 3. Brian, you're actually up next on the cards. You were volunteering, and here you are.
You get 3/10,
Okay, 3/10.
and then you get 3 of the 1 right now. Just look at the 1 of the 3.
Okay, and what am I going to do with my sign here?
It's gonna be division.
No, multiply. And then switch this to 1/3. Can I cross simplify?
You can do 3 and then
Good.
it'll be 1.
Okay, and I
And
get
it'll be
1/10. Good. Okay, last one, Jonathan.
I got the other 2 ones, but I have no idea.
Okay, just tell me what to do to get started. What do we have to do to these mixed numbers?
5 times 6
Mhm.
is 30.
Mhm.
Plus 4, 34.
Mhm.
5. 3 times
Okay, and then we're gonna have divided by
3 times 2 is 6.
Mhm.
Plus 1, 7.
7. Good, so we have divided by 7/3. Now what do we do to this problem?
34 over 5 times 3 7.
Good. Excellent job. Volunteer to tell me what answer you got. Mackenzie?
2 and 2 3/5.
Not quite. Sammy?
2 and 32 over 35.
You should have ended up with, the intermediate stuff would be 102 over 35.
I got that.
And that works out to be 2 and 32. You have 32 left, not just 2. 32.
Simplify? Yeah, this
This is, no, you could leave it like this.
No, I mean like 2 and 3.
No, I don't have to do that. Okay. Your exit ticket is just to write down, explain, how do you divide by a fraction? So I'm just going to just write that down. You can put it right on your paper. I'm going to come around and check that, and then I will also give you the worksheet, which is, I believe it's a 2-sided worksheet that has regular fractions on one side and mixed numbers on the other.